got to a point where I had absolutely nothing left. And when you're in this line of work and you serve, that's what you do, you give. So if you don't have anything, like they say, you can't give from empty, and I was empty. So I probably sat in that space for about 2.5, 3 months, I think, until one day I was like, Jaemellah, you got to get up and get out of this because you have young people that need you. You voluntarily raised your hand to support this population. Then nobody asked you to do this. You decided this on your own. So you got to get up and show up and execute. And that's what got me out of the funk, was the fact that we had young people who needed support, school supplies and books and uniforms, and parents needed that little bit of financial relief so that they can continue on and not fall into this bout of depression, and how it can be for us as single parents with a single income stream, and they don't have that huge village support. So yeah, that self-care thing, I know it sounds cliche-ish and we probably have worn out that little phrase, but it's definitely necessary. So now I know when it's time to take a step back and to recuperate. And I'm totally okay with that. A part of why I go so hard and how I fell into that is because I have high expectations of myself. So if I don't meet that, I feel like I got to go, I got to do more. But what happens when I'm not here? Because I'm now stuck in a place where I can't get out of, whether mentally, physically, emotionally, whatever it is. So we have to take time back as founders, and we have to replenish our tank. We have to do things for us, because otherwise it just may come to a crash and burn, unfortunately.
No, and I think that's a great way for us to transition into our break, to give our listeners, especially those aspiring to launch a nonprofit, something to think about, that we got to make sure we focus on taking care of ourselves in our efforts to serve and support community. So you're listening to Jaemellah Kemp, who is a nonprofit executive as well as consultant. And on the other side of the break, we're going to hear more about her journey and about her book. So stay with us, ladies and gentlemen. Village Talk. We are highlighting the voices and views of the community.
Feature your business with a full or half-page ad in an upcoming issue of Vision and Purpose Lifestyle Magazine. Advertise your business, book, or event and reach potential clients. Vision and Purpose Lifestyle Magazine covers and features stories in business and entrepreneurship, education, performing arts, sports, community outreach, fashion, travel and real estate, health and wellness, and more. Contact us at info@vnpmagazine.com, or you can reach out to our Director of Sales, Ms. Karen McConnell-Jones, at 202-904-1000. Vision and Purpose, inspiring our community.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Village Talk, where we highlight the views and voices of the community. I am Shauna Felton King, and I am here with my co-host, Cortland Jones. And we are so excited to continue this conversation with nonprofit executive, Ms. Jaemellah Kemp. For those of you who are just now tuning into us, we are really talking about Jaemillah's journey into becoming the nonprofit executive that she is, and helping and birthing nonprofits who are in their early stage up to year 5, and really want to hear a little bit more about that. And so, Jaemellah, I'm thinking that, a lot of people who start nonprofits say, I've just got a passion for this. I got a passion to do this. And the word passion is kind of used a lot.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to ask you, what's that word passion? What does it mean to have a passion for something? What's that mean to you?
Well, it's the first ingredient of the nonprofit starter recipe that I kind of coined not too long ago. You can't teach passion. You can't sell it. You can't bottle it up. You either have it or you don't. And passion is what drives the entire organization. Passion is what got me up out of that depressive state a few years ago, because I knew what I'm supposed to do. Like, I know that deep down in my bones. That's why I sat on it for 2 years, because I was like, no. But passion, it was like, yes, it's time to go, Jaemellah. So passion is something that nonprofit founders must have. And a lot of us who are founders and we also lead the organizations, it's personal. So when you have personal and you have passion, that combination together is what gets the organization off of the ground. It gives you the vitality. It gives you the wherewithal to do this thing for a long time because, contrary to for-profits, it's harder for us as nonprofits to close the doors. And why I say that is because we're here to service the community. We have people who are depending on us. So it is a heavy, heavy weight that we carry before we decide to close the doors. So passion is what allows us to keep the doors open, to keep being innovative, to keep moving and scaling up so that we can do more and service more. And I can tell someone is passionate just by talking to them in the first few minutes. And these are my clients, and everyone is not my client. I don't accept everyone that I speak with because it needs to make sense for me. I need to feel it, and I need for you to feel it as well. So if that's not coming across in our first 5-10 minutes, I'm not quite sure if you're my client.
Wow. But you know what? That's powerful because it probably goes back to your passion of knowing exactly, who you want to help, how that, what the place that you want them in. So if you, divert away from your passion, and then that's not doing justice for the work that you're doing as well. So that's real interesting.
Yeah, I feel that because, like I said, when she came to visit, I invited Jaemellah to come to my school community to support a student who was talking about starting their own business. And she was there. It was like, wow. And that's what stood out to me, her willingness to engage the community, which ultimately led to us starting our own nonprofit. So I can relate to this conversation as it relates to passion. Jaemellah, if you could, what do you see as maybe the top 3 challenges associated for those who are listening for starting a nonprofit? What are those top 3 barriers that nonprofit executives need to learn how to navigate?
First is your team, that board of directors, that governing body, that volunteer team. That is most challenging because as founders, we have I'm not going to say expectations, but we want everyone to be just as passionate as we are. And we can find those individuals, but I think that we have a little bit more vested in the process because God gave us the vision, right? But when it comes to board members, we really have to take a strategic approach to finding individuals who have a passion for the population, have a passion for the work that needs to be done, have a population for the community. They have to have a servant's heart and they have to be willing to do the work. So where a lot of nonprofits fail is either 1, they're coming from a place of not knowing, or 2, they're coming from a place of, let me push this application through for the 501c3 status. So let me put mom, sister, cousin, brother on the application, knowing that they're doing themselves a disservice because those people are not representative of the population that they're trying to serve or the community. And board members are just that. They're held legally liable for the organization. So you need people around that table that are strategic and intentional, and they bring a skill set to the table that's going to help your organization to grow. So what I mean by that is professional. So that's where we want to look for our board members are in our professional circles. And that could also be social media, because once we start looking at people, what they're involved in, who they're, partnering with, and what their philanthropic goals are, it very well can match up with the vision of your organization. So let's take a step back from the friends and family. Let's please not do that in 2021. Please take your, the time and the due diligence, to find the board members that you need, so that when you go before them, there's a plan, there's a strategy. You have a whole team of people who are ready to support you. Your friends and family are not necessarily the right people, and that's totally okay because God didn't give them that vision, okay? But God has given this type of philanthropic, service capacity to other people, and that's who we want. So that's the first thing. That's the first challenge, is finding the right team and keeping them engaged. The second challenge is the how that I talked about. How do we actually bring this vision to life? If you're servicing young people and you want to do tutoring, for example, how do we facilitate that? How do we launch it? We need to figure out where we're going to find these students. Who's going to do the tutoring? Where's the funding going to come from? Which is number 3. It's hard fundraising, y'all. I'm not going to lie. It's a challenge to fundraise. But if you do it the right way, you can fund the organization and make it sustainable. We have to, again, position ourselves like a business. We need to, we need to assess our outcomes, how well we're producing, so that translates into your nonprofit story, that goes into your grant proposal. Grantors want to know that if they give you this $10,000, you have a viable plan. That goes back to the how. Okay. So that's the top three: your board, your team, the how, the strategy, the implementation, the actual programming, the services, the activities that the organization delivers to the community. And then last is funding. So I don't focus on funding with what I do. That's why I will pass you off to my preferred colleagues to get you to where you need to be. But you got to start with me first so that we can set the foundation so that you are in a position to be fundable. And one thing that we need to know about nonprofits is, as soon as you receive that IRS determination letter, it's not, the windows of heaven are just unfortunately not going to open up and God is going to pour out a whole bunch of money. Not quite yet. We have to put some skin in the game. We have to do some work. So that letter makes you eligible, but it doesn't make you qualified to receive that grant. So we need to understand that we have to do some work. We have to show that what we have is viable and that the community is buying into it.
I'm curious, Jaemellah, because what you're sharing are things that I think we've learned just because Cortland and I have been through this nonprofit walk for it's been about 5 or 6 years now, Cortland.
Yeah.
But going into it, no clue. Okay, let me say no clue. All right. And so my question to you is, if there is somebody out there who has the passion for something. They don't really know about 501c3 forms, IRS forms. They just know they have a passion and there's a gap out there and they want to see what they can do to support those types of things. Can this process be intimidating and how might you encourage them to still follow that passion even when they hear all these other things that we're saying, like, okay, well, I'm not a business person, but I still feel like I want to do this. How could you advise somebody?
Sure. So it's all about nonprofit education. That's where it comes from. Anything that we do, if we're not knowledgeable about it, we need to get educated. So I know that the internet is also intimidating because it gives tons of information, but it's also misleading and false and all of that. So first I would do is to do your environmental scan. Like I said, see if that need really is a need in your immediate community, because that's where you're going to pilot all of your programs. If you find that there is a need, let's do some homework, right? So some of my sources include National Council of Nonprofits, boardsource.org. You can also go to candid.org, CANDID. They merged with the Foundation Center and GuideStar into one entity now, but go to places that end with the .org or .gov. Those are credible sources that you can depend on to get the information that you need to launch. You're going to start at the state level when it comes to getting your articles of incorporation, and of course the IRS when it comes time for you to get your 501c3 status. Also, talk to other nonprofit founders who have been successful, who have longevity in the industry. They will talk to you. Okay. Now, if I were just a nonprofit executive and a founder, I still willingly give free information, but because I also have it as a business, I do charge for my knowledge, right? Because everybody's intellectual property has a cost if you have a business, but your nonprofit founder is willing to share. Most of us are willing to share so that you can get to the next level. There are tons of Facebook groups that are affiliated and support nonprofits. One of them is called Blacks in Nonprofits. There's 17,000 of us who are in the nonprofit space in some capacity. Those are great mentoring spaces that you can go and just ask your question and people are willing to support you, right? So if you're not business minded, that's totally okay. You either have to ask yourself some gut check questions. Am I willing to take this leap of faith and do what's necessary to be successful? Maybe I need a certificate. Maybe I need to go get, a full-fledged degree. Am I willing to do this